Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Healthy Kids Revolution Summit. Today is a fabulous day. We are starting the launch, and it is with great honor and pleasure that I introduce our lead expert for the summit. It's Dr. David Katz. Hopefully many of you already know him, and I could take up the whole 45 minutes for this interview just talking about all that Dr. Katz has accomplished so far in his medical career. Dr. Katz, we are so honored to have you, and thank you for generously donating your time to the Healthy Kids Revolution Summit and helping us parents figure out how to feed our children healthier. We're glad to have you. Are you there, Dr. Katz?
Apologies, Carmen. I'm delighted to be with you. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you're there. And what I wanted to let everybody know is that you are a pioneer in children's health. If they haven't gotten familiar with your work, you actually are the creator, you and your wife, as I understand it, created Nutrition Detectives, which is a fabulous program offered in schools, and it's my understanding that this is free to any school or parent or educator that would like to use Nutrition Detective. They can actually get that from Dr. Katz's website.
Correct.
That's correct. It is free of charge, right?
Yes, it is.
That is so generous of you, and I hope that those of you who do not have exposure to Nutrition Detectives, we're actually going to talk about that briefly in this interview today. Dr. Katz also was the creator of Activity Bursts in the Classroom, so he is obviously a premier thought leader in combating childhood obesity and a driving force in helping parents get their children healthier. So, Dr. Katz, our first question is, this is the big why. Why should parents make the effort to start getting their children to eating healthier?
Love, Carmen. The answer is love. The one thing that no expert needs to talk a parent into is loving their child, loving their children. I have 5 children. I love them. And, we think about how to express that love and what we want for our kids. And what greater gift could any parent give their child than a much increased probability of a long, healthy, vital life? If you love your child, you want them to be happy. And the simple bottom line here is that healthy people have more fun. They're happier. Life is better. One of the things we tend to forget, Carmen, I think we kind of moralize about health, and, doctors, I think, get carried away with this. It's easy for us to think health is the prize. Health is important. Well, yeah, health is important, but it's important because living is the prize. And health enables us to live better, have better lives. That's what it's about. I'm not the boss of you. You're the boss of you, and you can decide what you want to do with your life, but there's stuff you want to do, and whatever that is, you'll be able to do more of it if you're healthy. So I think every parent who loves their child needs to pursue health on behalf of their child, with their child, for their child, because it's the greatest gift we can give our kids. And, we lose sight of that sometimes in the short term. On any given day, it may feel like a donut is the greatest gift we can give our kid, or a cupcake. But, over time, giving our children more years in life, and in particular more life in years, it's the greatest gift. That's the gift that keeps on giving. I love my kids. I want them to be healthy because I want them to be happy.
That is an unexpected surprise and a lovely answer. I am so glad that you got to the emotional side of why we need to actually make the effort to feed our children. And I think as a parent, I found myself that I didn't love myself enough, because when we're adults, we get into this emotional, we're not worthy, whatever those scenarios go on. Our children don't have those hang-ups, and they're willing to take care of themselves if we teach them the right methods. And I know that you've created Nutrition Detectives, and would love for you to speak about that, how your program is actually helping children make better food choices so that they do have longer lives.
Well, first of all, I want to shout out to my wife, because Nutrition Detectives actually began many years ago. So again, we have 5 children, 4 daughters and a son, and this began with, I think, our third daughter, who came home from school with some sort of request to talk to her classmates about nutrition. Her dad was the nutrition guy, and her teacher wanted me to come in, and I turned to my wife and said, I don't know what to say to a group of 8-year-olds. And so we started talking it over and working out the details, and my wife is really just brilliant when it comes to translating the details of nutrition, both into simple, clear messages, and then even more importantly into walking the walk. I mean, she does the cooking for our family, and so she takes theory and turns it into practice. And so we just started thinking about the messages that matter, and she came up with ideas, I came up with ideas, and I wound up doing this presentation. And it went so well that we started building on it, and then we brought in experts in pedagogy, and the rest is history. So Nutrition Detectives has evolved in multiple stages. So it began with my wife and me, but it's passed through many hands since. It's now a DVD available in both English and Spanish. It's been downloaded tens of thousands of times. It's in schools all around the world. The last we heard, it was being adopted by some public schools in Mumbai, India. And they're really, it's really neat. We're really excited. We're reaching certainly hundreds of thousands of kids around the world, but maybe even millions, and we're so excited. And we've studied this. I mean, the other thing, Carmen, is that as a scientist, you can think you've got a good idea, but you can't just trust it. You have to verify. So we've published a number of papers showing that this program really works. And there are sort of two key things here. First, back to what we were talking about, why should parents lead their kids to health? Well, you could ask a similar question directly about the kids. Why should the kids care about health? And there, too, it's very important not to moralize. It's important, it's the right thing to do. An 8-year-old doesn't really want to hear about that. So you think, what matters to a kid? And really, one of the things on the short list for any kid is fun. And so the message that healthy people have more fun is a great way to get into a discussion of the kids. So, that's what we teach in Nutrition Detectives, that food is the fuel that runs your body, and your body enables you to do the stuff you like to do, whatever it is, whether it's dance or basketball or playing a musical instrument or swimming or, whatever it is. Food is the fuel, and you have to put good fuel in the tank if you want lots of good energy, and the more good energy you have, the more fun you can have. And the other thing we point out to kids is that food is the construction material for a growing body. So, in the DVD, I call up this very cute little girl and ask her if she remained that height for the rest of her life, and she does not. She plans to grow. And I asked her what she's going to grow more of herself out of and give her a choice between good stuff or junk. And, you think about that. You wouldn't build anything you care about out of junk. You wouldn't want a house built out of junk. You wouldn't want jewelry built out of junk. You don't want your clothes made out of junk. How could you possibly think about building yourself out of junk? So, every parent needs to realize that food is the construction material for the growing body of the children they love. And every kid needs to realize that what they put in their body will become who they are. And if they're growing, they'll grow out of that stuff. And if it's good stuff, they'll be stronger and have more energy. So we start there, but then the real game changer, I think, with Nutrition Detectives, and frankly, Carmen, really with all of the work that I've been committed to over the last couple of decades, I consider myself a public health pragmatist. And what I'm interested in doing is sort of looking, not just philosophizing, eat more fruits and vegetables. It's important, but it's a philosophy. It doesn't give people a skill. Nutrition Detectives actually gives kids a skill. We call it food label literacy. We give them 5 clues that fit on a refrigerator magnet, and they're clues they can use when they go shopping so they can trade up their choices when they're buying chips or cookies or crackers or breakfast cereal or whatever. And an example of the 5 clues is the shorter the ingredient list, the better. So it's simple, it's easy to remember, and you can really put it to use where the rubber hits the road. And that's the kind of program we develop in my lab. That's the kind of program we make available for free through my nonprofit, Turn the Tide. And we really think Nutrition Detectives is making a difference, and not just for kids, but for parents. Parents also struggle to make the better choice, and those 5 clues work just as well for the parents as they do for the kids.
Exactly, and I did watch that video for the Nutrition Detectives, and I saw that, as far as parents, they definitely can. The kids are the catalyst a lot of times to, kind of a groundswell. Maybe that's why you came up with the name Turn the Tide Foundation. There's a groundswell movement that we can have with our children, helping parents change their eating habits if we can get the children to understand why it's important. And I think you've done a beautiful, masterful job, you and all the collective people that have surrounded you, to make that program available free to the public. So thank you. That's just fantastic, and I want to redirect people back over there again and again. It's www.davidkatzmd.com, Katz, K-A-T-Z. Please go there and secure that program for your children if you have not had it exposed in your communities yet. And Dr. Katz, I love scenarios, so I hope you'll be good with this. But say you have a family of 5 right now. We're just going to typify America. There are 2 kids in multiple sports. Both parents working, running around. They live hectic, fast-paced lives. Yeah, the family wants to change their eating habits. Where would you suggest they start?
It is tough, and interestingly, my wife and I talk about this all the time, and it's hard even for her. My wife is really smart and highly educated. She has a PhD in neuroscience from Princeton University, for crying out loud.
Wow.
And she's married to a nutrition guy, and over 20 years of marriage, she knows everything I know. And yet it's still challenging, and now 2 of our kids are out of the house, 3 are still here, but they're all over the place. They've got activities. It's really tough to get that dinner. So I think it begins by acknowledging it's difficult. It's difficult for everybody. It's difficult for me and my family, and we don't want to make perfect the enemy of good. So I would say there are a couple of easy ways to get the party started. First, you just need to care. Health needs to be a family value, and it needs to be about family. And coming back to my first answer, it has to be all about love. If it's about moralizing or should or finger wagging, my kids are going to rebel against that. But my kids have always understood that my wife and I love them, and we want them to be healthy. And, it's the way we live. We take good care of one another. And, it's a way of having one another's back. It's in unity there is strength. We all want to be healthy because, frankly, we want to be around when our kids have kids, and we want our kids to have the best lives possible. So everybody gets that. So start by making health a priority and make it a topic of discussion. Let's try to help one another eat well and be more active because we love one another. So that's step 1. Step 2 is trade up your choices. So, again, I've got a house full of kids. I know what it means to satisfy their dietary inclinations. They're going to want cookies, and frankly, so am I from time to time. And they're going to want chips and so forth. So, with nutrition detectives or with our nutrition guidance system, NuVal, we have abundant evidence that, when you want chips, it's all well and good that spinach and broccoli are good for us, but, spinach makes a very sorry substitute for a chip. So, it's at that point, the relevant issue is, are there better chips? And the answer is yes. So I would say step 2 is, either with nutrition detectives or the NuVal system, which is a nutrient profiling system that I and colleagues developed, or any other system that you can put to good use, just learn how to interpret nutrition facts and ingredient lists so you can trade up your choices. And then have only good choices at home. Over all these years when my kids have felt like snacking, we've said, fine, go ahead and snack. But we always had only healthy snacks in the house. So, the chips in the Katz house are good chips, and the cookies here are good cookies. And, if your house is filled with fresh fruit and dried fruit and whole grains and better chips and better crackers and better cookies, then making the better choice is pretty easy because you've turned your home into a safe nutritional environment. You can really do that one trade up at a time. There's no real heavy lifting there. So that would be step 2. Step 3 is make sure you are in charge of your food choices. One of the big problems we get into in our culture is that people go on the seafood diet, meaning, I see food and I eat it.
Yes.
And everybody on the I see food and I eat it diet, is sort of subject to the choices that somebody else is making. So, food that comes into the office, food that's in a vending area, food that is sitting out on the desk. And it's amazing how mindlessly, we'll reach for food without thinking who chose this and does it really make sense and do I need it? Do I want it? Is it good for me? We wouldn't do that with medicine. We wouldn't do that with clothes. We wouldn't just randomly grab somebody else's clothes, but we randomly choose food that other people put there and put it in our body. And so, be in charge. And one of the simple things I recommend for being in charge is a snack pack. I travel everywhere with a snack pack. My snack pack probably has more frequent flyer miles than most people. What I compare it to, Carmen, is an umbrella. If you go out in the rain and you want your head to stay dry, you don't just hope that the raindrops won't hit you. You take an umbrella. And yet we've got sort of a foul nutritional climate where we're surrounded by highly processed junk food. And people routinely go out into it and just hope to stay thin and healthy. And it's like going out in the rain and hoping it won't hit you in the head. Yeah. So a snack put something in it like an apple or a non-fat yogurt or figs or almonds or walnuts or, you decide. But nutritious snacks that are easy to throw in there and take with you, that's the food equivalent of umbrella. So that would be a next step. And then finally, we do need to know how to prepare food. Otherwise, we're substantially under the control of other elements in our culture that prepare food for us, and you know what we get from that. America runs on Dunkin', and McDonald's feeds us, and it's actually not that hard. There have been studies to show that a highly nutritious, inexpensive, delicious, convenient, family-friendly meal can be prepared at home in less than 10 minutes more than it takes to get a fast food meal. 10 minutes. And a very tiny investment. You can save money, have much better food. But what it means is you need to have a repertoire of a few recipes. And so, I think we all need to find our way back to that. And there's some skill building to be done there. But, it's not rocket science. We can manage it if health is a priority.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I keep thinking about your comment about love, and it goes back down to loving ourselves and loving our families enough to be committed to say, I'm going to take these steps. It might seem like a mountain, but if we just take one step at a time, before we know it, we will be at the top. And that's what our family's done. We didn't just go and throw everything out of our pantry that we thought was horrible, that had, the long labels and stuff. We were terrible eaters to begin with, and we gradually over time, like you said, did the trading up. Next time we didn't get Cheetos. We went and found a healthier alternative. We cut out the Doritos. We cut out the Krispy Kreme donuts. They're not a once-a-week thing now. They're once a quarter of the year. We don't eat donuts every night. So you're right. We took control of our pantry, and I think that if parents understand, the whole premise of this summit is to give parents simple tools so that they don't feel overwhelmed, that they know this is doable, and the reasons that they do it is because they love their family. So I think you've given the audience some wonderful takeaways. And I guess the other thing I would love to ask you about is your recommendations as a physician. How are parents best going to combat the sedentary society that we're living in, the way our children are, sitting around playing Nintendo DS and those sorts of things and having the lesser amount of physical activity in our lives at this point?
Well, really both for diet and physical activity, Carmen, I think I have the same two answers. And by the way, I routinely refer to those as feet and forks because the master levers of medical destiny, I like to say, are feet, forks, fingers. And by fingers, I mean not holding cigarettes. So, if we eat well, we're physically active, and we don't smoke, just those three things have the potential to eliminate almost 80% of our lifetime risk of chronic disease. Really quite incredible. So, the power over your medical destiny is not in your doctor's hands. It's really in your hands and your feet. It's feet, forks, and fingers. So, with regard to feet and forks, eating better and being physically active, there are two basic approaches. One is the kind of stuff that guys like me need to step up and do. And by guys like me, I don't mean physicians only, but anybody who's working in health promotion, public health. It's our job, my colleagues and I. What we need to do is build tools, build programs to empower people. So for example, the nutrition guidance system we built, NuVal, 1 to 100, the higher the number, the more nutritious the food. It's in about 1,700 supermarkets throughout the U.S. And the idea is, you're busy, you want to eat well, but, you're confused. Madison Avenue's trying to fool you. It's really hard. We need to devise a simple solution to empower you. And then, so one solution is sort of the job of the health professional. And then your side is to work on getting relevant skills so you don't just have willpower, you also have skill power. And you can figure out how to make better choices when you shop and when you eat out at a restaurant and so forth. And again, that sort of comes back to love and caring. Physical activity is much the same. It begins really by recognizing that being physically active is not all that complicated. Just get up and go for a walk, go out and play, go for a bike ride. So, the first thing parents need to do is take care of themselves and take your kids along. Now, this is a case where you really have to walk the walk. You can't just talk about being physically active. Just do it and take your kids along. That's the easiest way. But here, too, I think there's a role for the health professional. So, as you know, Carmen, one of our other programs through my nonprofit Turn the Tide is ABC for Fitness, Activity Burst in the Classroom.
Yes.
And what So we know that kids should get physical activity every day, but at the same time, we have more and more evidence about that. We also have more and more schools jettisoning physical education in recess because they don't have time. So we built a program where teachers could dole out physical activity in bursts as short as 3 minutes and not longer than 8 throughout the day when the kids are unteachable anyway because, they can't concentrate. They're not paying attention. And so what we said is, during that time when you sort of waste minutes disciplining the kids, give them physical activity then. And then we actually match the physical activity burst to grade level and subject matter and said you can even teach during the activity burst. You can increase daily teaching time while giving the kids 30 minutes of physical activity. And then we built a comparable program for adults in the workplace. It's called ABE for Fitness, Activity Bursts Everywhere, and people can just Google that. And that's a library of online videos, again, 3 to 8 minutes in length. And these are activity bursts that you and I can do in the office, while wearing business attire throughout the day. And we also can get those 30 minutes of physical activity during our day. So, you're right about Nintendo and video games and all, but the plot runs deeper than that because, we basically have long, hectic schedules, and there's so much technology in our lives that we can work all day and be exhausted and yet never have actually exerted ourselves physically. And one of the things I think we need to do is kind of engineer physical activity back into that routine and use the ingenuity that gave us all that technology to figure out how do we reconcile the body's need for physical activity to the modern day. And I think we can do that. So again, like with the whole story here about health, it begins with love. It begins with caring. It begins with recognizing that a healthy body craves physical activity. We've sort of developed the notion that exercise is, it's a form of penance. I'm going to suffer. No, think about it as letting, your native animal vitality out of its cage. Our bodies really crave activity. You feel so much better when you get a little motion in your day. And then the issue just is, you're the boss of you, so you figure out what way you like to do it. For some people it would be the gym. For other people it would be dancing, and it doesn't matter as long as it's something. So, again, you've got to care. It's all about love, loving ourselves, loving our bodies, loving our families, wanting to share health with one another. And then it's about empowering programs that health promotion people put together for us so it's easier to get there from here. And then go shopping among those kinds of programs and make it happen. And then one other thing, Carmen. I like to say that many of the best defenses of the human body reside with the body politic. And those listening to your program, I want everybody to recognize we're all part of something bigger than ourselves. Of course, we're part of our families.
Absolutely.
We're part of communities. And I also like everybody to pay it forward. If you've got passion about health and taking care of yourself and your family and your kids, don't be shy about talking to teachers and principals and superintendents. And it may very well be that your kids are not getting physical activity during the school day, and they should be. And we have proven, we've done research to show that we can offer our program, and ABC for Fitness, by the way, is available for free to everybody. And we've studied it, and we've been able to show not only does it enhance fitness, but it actually improves the kids' behavior. They get sent to the principal less. They behave better. They take less medication. They have less attention deficit disorder because the proper remedy for rambunctiousness is recess, not Ritalin. And their academic performance stays at least as good. And in many instances, it actually improves. So there's no reason not to do this. And every parent should be preaching that same gospel.
I agree with you 100%, and I want to direct everybody back again. If you did not write this down, please go to www.davidkatz.com. Dr. Katz has just told us of two wonderful things, Nutrition Detectives and the ABC program, also the ACE program for adults. There is just a plethora of awesome tools that he has developed with other people and just so generously offering this to the public in view of us all getting healthier. So, you mentioned NuVal, Dr. Katz, and I don't know if everybody is familiar with that, but can you tell us where this number is? Is it I see the shape, I guess it's kind of looks like two little stop signs put together, and it says NuVal 1 to 100. But where is this found on most labels? Is it close to the ingredients listing, or is it above the name, or is it, where strategically are they placing it in one common spot for people to be able to find it?
Yeah, it's actually, Carmen, it's in the supermarket. It's on the what's called the shelf tag where the price goes. It's right next to the price. So if you go shopping,
Oh, wow, okay.
Right next,
That's
if
cool.
you can price, you can find the NuVal number. So just briefly, this is a simplifying nutrition guidance system. It was developed, I led the group, and it was a privilege because it was a group of the elite in nutrition and public health. I mean, people like the chair of nutrition at Harvard and the president of the American Cancer Society and the inventor of the glycemic index. It was incredible. We worked together a couple of years, and we built the overall nutritional quality index. Our work was funded by Griffin Hospital, which is a Yale-affiliated, not-for-profit community hospital. So there were no ties to industry, no politics. It was just pure public health. And basically, the company has scored over 100,000 foods, 1 to 100. The higher the number, the more nutritious the food. Now, I wish everybody had access to it. Only about 30 million people do. It's in about 1,700 supermarkets coast to coast. And we're working to bring it to more people. But you can learn more about the system by going to NuVal.com, NuVal. And if it's not in your supermarket and you want it, let them know, and maybe you can help get it there. But this is like GPS for nutrition. I would say Nutrition Detectives is a little bit like a map and compass. You know, it gives you all the information you need, but you have to do a little bit of the work. With NuVal, we've done all the work, so you don't have to do any. Just like GPS. You know, if you want better nutrition, turn here now.
And there's a great visual on your website I'm looking at, and I think parents would be staggered to see the NuVal equivalent of, like, I won't mention the manufacturer, but just say any generic applesauce. NuVal it was given a 4 on the NuVal system versus an apple is a 96. And again, the goal is to get to the higher numbers. So that number right there, I never would have thought that there was that big a difference between applesauce and the real apple. So I think this is a brilliant method, and it's very simple. You've got it next to the price tag, which is what everybody's concerned about. What does this cost? But they're also going to see what's it cost to my health. If it's a low number, it's costing you your health. The higher the number, the better for your health, correct?
Exactly. And the beauty of this system, Carmen, is that, you know, it's not just about, you know, eat more apples, although that would be a good idea for most people. It's about the incredible opportunity you have to trade up choices in every category. You can eat better chips. You can eat better cookies. And you know, again, I like to say that the goal of eating well is loving food that loves us back. And so the more choice you have, the more latitude you have, the more you are in charge, the better. And NuVal really gives people that power. I can trade up my pasta sauce. I can trade up my salad dressing. I can improve my health and my diet one well-informed choice at a time, and it's not about choosing something I don't want. It's just choosing a better version of something that I do want. So, again, this is where health professionals have a job to do. Given the challenges of getting to health in the modern environment, it's our job to pave the way. It's your job to have the will, and if we can align the will for health with, you know, a better paved way to health and more skill to get to health, we can get there from here. And the prize, as I said at the beginning, is it's a better life. You know, health really isn't the prize. Health is the currency we all get to spend on years in life and life in years, and that's the prize.
And I'd like to make one other comment about your NuVal system and the value to our listeners. I know that everybody is so overwhelmed. Not everybody has the opportunity to go to nutrition school or go to medical school to learn what do all these different chemicals and things mean to my body. But what you all have done as a collective body, you have absolutely simplified the process of choosing healthy over unhealthy, because now we don't have to read labels so intently and spend, 15 extra minutes reading through 17 labels. You all have done the hard, heavy lifting, and now it's up to us, like you said, just to take control and make the better choices. So I applaud you immensely for this tremendous effort and for actually having a moment to highlight it today to our community, because I think as people are shopping around, they're going to start to look for this next to the price tag and please, you all go research this a little bit. It's pretty simple, very obvious, and an extremely helpful tool for us parents as we're shopping in the grocery store. So thank you so much for that. I think we could probably talk to you for 17 hours, and I know we don't have that luxury. So before we let you go, I know you've written at least a dozen books, and I think I read on your website that you have 3 books in the hopper. So would you want to tell the audience about what you have in the works right now?
That would be great, Carmen. Thank you very much. And the timing is good. Two of the books that are coming out are textbooks, and many of the books that I've written are textbooks for professionals. I've written textbooks on preventive medicine and evidence-based medicine and nutrition in particular. But yes, one of the books, it's due out in September from Penguin. It's called Disease Proof, and it's all about what we're discussing. And the basic idea in the book, first of all, is that with better use of our feet, forks, and fingers, we could eliminate 80% of all chronic disease. And we've all got skin in the game. And if you love somebody who's been affected by heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, dementia, then these scourges have invaded your life and your family. And 8 times in 10, that doesn't need to happen if we took better care of ourselves just by eating well, being active, and, of course, avoiding tobacco. So first, people need to appreciate how great their power really is. But then we have to work on getting there from here. And what Disease Proof is mostly about is skill power. It's, what are the skills you need to make better use of your feet every day? And what are the skills you need to make better use of your fork every day? What skills do I have that enable me to eat well no matter what? And if I've got skills, I can share them. It's a bit like riding a bike. Until you know how, it's fitting, and then you know how, and you wonder what the fuss was about. Pretty much the same for eating well in spite of it all and being active in spite of it all. It's not easy in the modern world, but it's not climbing Mount Everest either. We really can get there from here, but it's not just about willpower. It's also about skill power. So Disease Proof basically says, here's what a day in the life of you and your feet could look like, and here are the skills you need to take advantage of every opportunity to be more active. And here's a day in the life of you and your fork, and here's the skill set that helps, those of us who've got the relevant skills, that helps us eat well. And here are the skills and how you can put them to good use, too. So it makes the case that what we do with our feet and our forks have a huge influence over our medical destinies, more than anything in the doctor's war chest, certainly. So, the stakes are enormously high. We have great potential power, but we need a skill set to realize that power, and Disease Proof offers up that skill set. So that's out in September, and I hope that will be of interest to listeners.
Fantastic. And so that will be available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, every format it's going to be available?
Yep, that should be.
Absolutely. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm really excited to hear about that because, again, we can take the theory all day long, but if we can't find a way to practice that theory, the theory is irrelevant. So it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. You're giving us the ability to figure out how to maneuver in this world that we're in. And one last point, when you talk about the 80%, being able to reverse 80%, prevent and reverse 80% of the chronic diseases that we have out there. I read your Huffington Post that was on Friday, and I thought you said it brilliantly that, if you think about that, that means that there are 8 chances in 10. So 8 out of 10 times, if we eat healthy, we're going to have healthy children, right? If our children eat healthy, 8 out of 10 times, they're going to be healthy. So it is in our hands and in our power to prevent diseases that are running all over America.
Carmen, when I went to medical school, there were 2 kinds of diabetes they taught us about, juvenile onset and adult onset. And since that time, just a generation ago, what used to be adult onset diabetes is now called type 2 because it occurs routinely in kids. So we have the same serious chronic diseases occurring at ever younger age and exacting an ever greater toll. So as we look around the next corner to the future when our kids will be adults, we can either give them a future where they have ever more chronic disease than we did, beginning at ever younger age, robbing them of both years in life and life in years, or exactly as you say, 8 times in 10, they can dodge those bullets completely. They don't need to get diabetes. They don't need to get heart disease. They get dementia. That's the stark choice we're looking at. So make health a family value. Make it an expression of love. It's time to update the love. We need the love we show one another to be about defending one another's health. Not because we should. It's not about should. It's because it's what we all care about. We want the people we love to have the best possible life. And what we fail to address is how much power we have to influence that. So all of us as people connected to other people, as people connected by love, need to make health a priority, not because we should, but because we'll have better lives if we do, and we'll pay forward those better lives to the people we love most, our children.
Yes. Well, thank you. You're just a delight, and I know that our audience has loved listening to your thoughts and your expertise in this department. And I just cannot thank you enough, again, from the bottom of my heart, personally, as the host of this, for having you donate your time and your talents and all of your treasures that are available on your website, donating it to all the parents that are listening today for them to make concerted efforts to raise healthier families. So thank you again so much for joining us, and I hope you join in to hear the rest of what's going on with the Healthy Kids Revolution. Everybody, I hope you all have a great day. Yes, Dr. Katz?
I just want to say thank you. It's been a great pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, too. Have a great day.